Today, we are going to be discussing humility. We'll give you guys a quick definition of it, and then we'll also talk about how to practice it and how it's going to benefit us. So before we get into that, though, I'm Gabe,
I'm Caleb.
and you are listening to another episode of the Positive Outlook Podcast. We are super excited for this episode. I cannot wait to get into it. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe if you are here. We love having you guys around. We love to keep you around. So let's get into it.
And feel free to comment. We love the interactions we've been getting. Shout out to Daisy. She's been going through binging our whole
Yeah.
whole podcast. So that's
Shout out
awesome.
Izzy. That's awesome. Yeah. So it's really cool to see the community kind of come together and join us in just discussing the topics that we discuss. It's our favorite thing is to get that involvement and that interaction. So please keep it up. It's awesome. So a quick, I guess we'll give like our own little definition on what pride is to us. So I'll start with mine, or if you want to, we can just use the joint one, which is a freedom from pride or arrogance. Um,
I think you mean the definition of humility,
what did I say?
the definition of pride.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So the
I was like,
definition,
where'd this curveball come
the
from?
freedom of pride. No, no, no. So the definition of humility. Sorry, thanks for correcting me, Caleb. Is a freedom from pride or arrogance. So I don't know if you want to have your own twist on it or what it means to you. Um,
I mean, I think that's basically a good gist of it.
yeah,
It's just
hits the nail on
getting
the head
away
right
from
there.
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So just getting that freedom from pride or arrogance, and then we're gonna discuss how to practice it. And I think this is gonna be a great episode for us, great episode for you guys to listen to. I think we can all learn something great from this. So Caleb, do you want to start off with how to practice it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's
So
do it.
the first step is to start spending time listening to others. I think this is huge with humility,
Hmm.
because the whole idea of humility is freedom from pride or arrogance. When you're listening to others, not just hearing what they're saying, but actively listening and paying attention, it shows this humbleness because you're no longer this in this mindset of I know everything. You're
Hmm.
actually listening to them.
Yeah. I love that. I love just the whole topic in general is just so awesome. Moving into the second point for how to practice humility is practice mindfulness and focus on the present. So a lot of us, when we kind of get like that, like ego inflated and kind of forget about our humbleness, we kind of forget that other people matter. We kind of forget that the future matters as well. We focus so much on what's happening with us today. Um, and so practicing mindfulness and remembering that other people around you, you are part of the same society that they're part of. You are just like them. And being able to focus on the present really makes a difference in your life and just kind of shapes your whole mindset when going towards your day. So,
And I really like the focusing on the present because when you think of the people who are most arrogant or most prideful, I feel like arrogance kind of stems from the past. They're so focused on what they were, what they have accomplished, what they
mm-hmm,
have done, who they did know, kind of thing.
yeah,
It's like being stuck in high school kind of
mm-hmm,
mentality. And then focus on the present in terms of pride. You and I could be very very prideful in the podcast and where we think or know
mm-hmm,
it's going to go. But rather than that, if we focus on the present, you eliminate all of the before and all of the after, and you focus right now where it counts.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because where that could get you into trouble is, like Caleb said, we could focus on being, having a lot of, which I think we both have a lot of pride in the podcast, but it's more so flaunting it. And so when it comes to flaunting, the progress that we've had on the podcast, we could run into a wall. And when we run into that wall, progress stops because we're so caught up in how it's going, what we've accomplished, that we kind of are satisfied there. And we stop moving forward because we've kind of hit like our bragging rights. And so there's just like that different take you have to take and understand that, like, Caleb and I both know that this podcast isn't perfect. It has a long way to go. And that's just one minute detail of how humbleness can affect your life. So we're targeting just the podcast here, but when it comes to the big scope, avoid that wall, avoid running into that wall and having the I guess degression of progress. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
And for number three, we have be grateful for what you have. If you know anything about us, gratitude is huge on the
yes,
podcast.
yes,
Number one.
yeah. Being grateful for what you have is probably the most important thing in the world. It really is. Now it's easy every time we come up with one of our favorite favorite topics, whether it's gratitude or just like perspective, stuff like that. We can always say it's the most important, but I really do think gratefulness is probably top five when it comes to perspective, because having just being grateful and having gratitude can shape the entire life that you have. Because I mean, it could be a difference of waking up and being upset that you have to go to work, or being happy that you get the opportunity to go make money. And so it's just just something as simple as that, where gratitude can totally shift your whole life.
And if you're on YouTube, we're going to make it accessible to our episode Gratitude. So it's going to be in the top corner. You can just click on it. We literally have a whole episode on gratitude. So,
Yeah, it's a great episode. Number four, moving into the next step, ask for help when you need it. I feel like this one's very important for a lot of people, because when kind of having this ego inflated mindset, or too much pride, a lot of people are afraid to ask for help because they want to have this show that they know what's going on and everything's fine and they don't need help. But really, it takes a lot to ask for help in the first place, and it also it does allow you to practice that humility, because it allows you to take that step back and understand that you don't have all the answers. You're not perfect. You're not the all-knowing eye or the all-seeing eye, and it allows you to understand that you're just a human, just like us.
question.
Yes.
Have you ever struggled to ask for help when you needed it?
I did, yeah. Going, it was a little bit after high school. I felt like I kind of understood the world, and other people were kind of just like gonna get in the way of my questions and my dreams and stuff like that. So, actually, I kind of sheltered myself. This was probably like 19 through 20, where I felt like I knew everything, and actually, it led to a very poor life. It led me into like the kind of the darker side and the depression and stuff like that. And so the way I got out of it was asking for help, and it's awesome, and it's cool to have been there and got out. So yeah, this point has a lot of meaning to me. Yeah.
Awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, honestly, it's a time in my life where I should have known better because we've had the podcast. But it was my first year kind of on my own
Hmm.
here at school, and things just kept piling up. But I had this mindset of I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it on my own. I don't need any help. Like I want to be able to say I did this by myself. And so there got to, points where it's like unrealistic to even go, like continue on without help.
Hmm.
But I just had this like, I'm gonna crush it. I'm just gonna keep working harder. And I ended up exhausted. I ended up dwindling my resources that I had. And finally, I reached out for help, and things instantly got better.
Yeah, I still think even today there's some things that I like to think I can handle on my own, and then
Oh yeah,
as I get further
it's
into it, I'm like, some help might be nice. So
and that's an important part right there. With anything we discuss on the podcast, it's always a work in
oh,
progress. Oh my
definitely,
goodness.
yeah.
So it's like really important to have this mindset of it's okay to mess up any of the things that we talk about or things you try, because we are all human, and so we're gonna have to revisit things and reanalyze and say, okay, we did this wrong, we need to improve here. But the whole point is just it's okay. Like it's not like, oh, you know this, you can't do it now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, we're all in this together, and so we should all help each other through it together. I think it's a great point. All right. You want to move into the next one?
Yeah, so seek feedback from others on a regular basis. This one's huge.
I
This
love
one's
this one. It
giant.
it's so important. This is almost like asking for help, because it really is like, here's my performance. How can I improve? It kind of is that kind of that feedback can lead to help, I guess you can call it. But understanding that when you do something, it is not the perfect route to it. It rarely ever will be, unless you spend your whole life towards a simple process and perfecting it. But until you do that, which I don't think a lot of us would do, when you do something, it's usually not perfect, and feedback helps. Feedback only improves you as long as you take it that way.
Exactly. I think people need to be careful to not take everything so personal. A lot
Hmm.
of times, feedback, people like to view it as an attack, Whereas really, they're just giving you something to help you reconstruct an area that you could improve on. And so I think it's easy to be like, well, get flustered from some feedback, and some people don't deliver feedback in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you just got to pull the positives from it and work on, it's easy. It's better to improve yourself once you've had an outside analysis.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. It's getting that step back. Even when it comes to just like problems in life, if I'm running into a problem, I have a ton of emotion tied to it. So I'm not thinking logically. So if I step aside and I ask Caleb, I say, hey man, like what would you do in this situation? He doesn't have the emotion that I do tied to the situation. So he can kind of give me like a more logical explanation of what he would do, which could change my perspective. And I think the same thing can happen with the feedback. So
And
yeah.
and this kind of can tie together the asking help when you need it, spend time listening to others, and seeking the feedback. When it comes to the podcast, I'll admit there's times when someone offers advice and I'm all like, oh, what do you know? Or, oh, this is a great podcast. Like, I don't need your advice. And then I'm like, okay, actually, they're right. I'm being arrogant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so seeking that feedback, even if it's things that you already know, you just haven't enacted yet, it just helps reinforce some of the things that, you need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. All right, moving into the last step on how to practice humility. It is review your actions against the language of pride. Now, I feel like that one's a big one to unpack. And so I will put you right on the spot. What does that mean to you, Caleb?
So reviewing your actions against the language of pride. What does that mean? So language of pride, I would say, is all the times, not necessarily all the times, it's very general. So any time that we've had a run-in where pride got the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's being pressured into a situation, whether it's like turning down help, anything like that, it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of just taking a moment to sit down with yourself and kind of check up and be like, okay, this this I could have gotten help.
Yep.
I should have, and I will next time. Here, I need to ask for help. There's like a moment where you have a breakdown, but you're like, no, I can do it on my own. Take a second and be like, okay, this I need help on. I do. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of like reviewing your actions is just a way of saying like you're just analyzing your performance and
Mm-hmm.
looking for ways to improve yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was a great answer. I love our episode that we did. It's called Setting Precedents.
Hmm.
So it's reminding yourself that when you've been in a situation before, you kind of set that precedence to know for the future when you're in that situation again what to do. And so reviewing your actions against the language of pride is a great one because if you let pride get the best of you, next time you're in that situation, you're going to not let pride take over. You're going to step in, ask for help, do whatever you need to do to let go of that ego so you can have a more successful run with that task.
Absolutely.
All right. So that is how to practice humility. That was awesome. I'm pumped up. I am ready to be humble. And so now we're gonna move into how does humility benefit us? If you want to dig into that right at the start.
Yeah. So humble people actually handle stress more effectively and also report higher levels of physical and mental well-being. And they also tend, according to studies, to show greater generosity, helpfulness, and gratitude towards all things. And those are the type of traits and things that you can do that actually draw people closer together. And it's just such a healthy thing to have.
Yeah.
No one likes the arrogant know-it-all, if
Yeah.
you will.
I know one thing that was super important to me when I got out of high school was learning the difference between a boss and a leader, and kind of understanding the difference and what makes them different. So I guess I will ask you, Caleb, when it comes to the connotation of a boss and a leader, what is the difference for you?
So I would say the difference is boss is more of a title of power. There's a lot more power tripping. There's more I
Hmm.
can do what I want because I'm your boss.
Yeah.
A leader is someone who serves. It's someone who learns with who they're working with. It's someone who takes feedback, even if it's from someone below them. It's someone who's just in general a more humbled person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think the big definition there is a leader, but um, opposite of a boss, just leads by example. So pretty much wouldn't ask you to do anything that they wouldn't do, and they might even do it before you just to show you how it's done, whereas a boss just points and directs. So, a leader, when it comes to even just workplace or just in life, being the leader outside of a boss will get you a lot more respect. It'll get you a much more mutual following when it comes to just like a friend group, right? So everyone will then have that mutual respect opposed to the fear. And so it just leads to much healthier relationships.
And this is more genuine too.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. It's more heart to heart. Right. So it's opposed to that fear aspect that bosses usually use. Right. Because when you watch the movies about, or if you've ever seen like horrible bosses, like this is a perfect example, that, they're like, oh, do this. And they're kind of fear mongering and kind of pushing, like, I'll fire you if you don't leave, And so that's like the fear aspect. Whereas, if it's like the healthy, like, well, I'm going to do it because I have respect for you and I don't want to upset you kind of thing, then that's like that mutual respect. So, all right. Yeah, that was a good one. We dug into how it benefits us. So that is a great first point to how humility can benefit us. Now, the next point we're going to go into is it creates endless possibilities. So when you have humility, when you stay humble, it reminds you that your way is not the perfect way every time, right? So like we talked about earlier, you can always refine your craft. You can always do better. In being open-minded to that allows you to understand that there are more possibilities than the way that you think of or the way that you came up with. So listening, kind of having a group mind, it just leads you to understanding that there are more possibilities than what you have.
And personally, I don't think this necessarily has to be oriented towards people who are arrogant. In this sense, it can even be people who are just too comfortable doing it the same way every time.
Yeah.
So if you're scared to take that leap of faith or try something new, um, humility is a good way to kind of be like, okay, like why am I scared? It's kind of like having a more trust in the people around you.
Hmm.
That just kind of a different angle too.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it's really cool. It allows you to just understand that there are different paths. And just statistically speaking, like people who try new things every day, their dementia rates are, I think it's like 40% lower coming upon that age, and just other mental illnesses. Like it kind of just it stops your brain from deteriorating. It really does. And so as you get older and you keep doing new things and you keep trying fun stuff, it allows you to just stay young and healthy. So it's fun. Um, Moving into the next one, it keeps power in check. Now, Caleb, have you ever seen Cars?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Lightning McQueen in the first movie. Who explain him? Like, first like 30 minutes of the movie, what characteristics does he carry?
He is the most ego-inflated race car of all time who thinks he is the best, he knows everything, and he is just waiting for all of his like winnings to come to him because he just knows that he's the best.
Yeah, he kind of has like that entitled swagger, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but he's got like this, like everyone should bow down to me. I'm a race car. I'm the coolest guy ever. What do you mean I have to fix this road? Because he destroys the road and he
And
has to fix it.
and he sees other cars below him, like every
Yeah.
other car.
Yeah. And so having humility kind of prevents that from happening, prevents you from kind of making an ass out of yourself. It helps you examine yourself and understand that you have faults. And so Lightning McQueen's fault was that that he ended up racing against one of the guys in the town, and he ended up losing because of his faults. He was too ego inflated to understand that we all have weaknesses. There's all something that we are going to suck at and that we need to improve on. We're not all the best. We're not all perfect. So knowing that really helps you develop as a human being.
And kind of not to take a nerdy turn here, but in Star Wars, there's this
Hmm.
quote that his name's Count Dooku says, "Double the pride, double the fall."
Hmm.
So, not that this is why you should focus on humility, but it's definitely a helpful reminder. When you're one of those prideful people who has all that power and ego and everything, when you do make a big mistake, it's going to hurt 10 times worse because you have no one that respects you and everyone's waiting for you to make a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely. I love the quote there. And I know you had a couple more quotes that you wanted to throw out today. So do you want to throw out another one while we're here?
Yeah, so this one kind of summarizes back when we first brought up pride. I should have probably just dropped it there, but that's all right. Pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good quote. We've kind of already like discussed that. And then this one's very similar, but true humility is staying teachable regardless of how much you already know. So that's the power check right there.
Yeah, that one's
It's just
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like I think that's probably one of the best traits when it comes to a human is willingness to
Mm-hmm.
learn, and then understanding that there is always more to learn.
100%.
Yeah. So, let's see. I think a final step to why humility benefits us is that it shows that you see beyond yourself. And now digging into that one it's really deep. It's understanding that the world isn't revolving around you, right? Like you always hear people say that, like the world doesn't revolve around you, you know? So, it's really important to understand that you are not alone on this earth. You are not the center of attention. And that can help for many things past humility. It can help with like anxiety and depression and understanding that you are not being targeted or or the spotlight effect as well, that everyone's not watching you everywhere you go. Understand that there are so many people beyond just you and so many other people that you can care about and have feelings for, I guess. And so to build up those relationships and have a happy life.
And I think that can help with a lot of people that I know, especially our age, younger, trying to figure life out,
Yeah.
have these existential crises because even if they didn't realize it, it's kind of like their whole lives, everything's been centered around them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one really simple example I could think to like translate that is when you're in elementary school, when it's your birthday, everybody knows it's the biggest deal ever.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like hyped up for you.
Yep.
It's like New Year's.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get to even just, I mean, you could say high school, but we'll even say college. No one knows who you are. You're no longer like it's your birthday, but it's just Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so even something as small as that shows you that like there's so much beyond just you
Mm-hmm.
and that you are nowhere near the center of attention. Does
Yeah.
that mean you're not significant? Not at all. But what that means is stop getting in your own way because there's 7 billion other people on this planet.
Yeah. And I know sometimes we have to drop a reality check on the podcast. So boom, here comes the reality check. If you don't like what we're talking about in this episode pertains to you. Um, it really does. Is you have to take that step back and understand that not you're not as important as you think you are. You know, if you have this huge, this ego inflated mentality, understand that there are other people out there that you have to show affection for. You have to show care for. You are not the center of attention. Now, everybody has their own importance in this world, but you do not set above other people just because of what you do. And I think it's very important that you guys just have to understand that.
And one thing when it comes to the prideful, I can do it on my own,
Hmm.
that kind of reality checked me is if you watch any acceptance speech from any at least decent person, I mean, there's always exceptions, but
Yeah.
like athletes, actors, whoever, when they get up on that stage and they start their speech, what do they immediately start with?
Say it.
They start with thanking all the people that have helped them get to where they are.
Boom.
So even if you're a superhero, you cannot do this on your own.
Yep.
And you just have to have that humbleness and humility to realize every single thing has helped you.
Yeah.
It's okay to get that help. And so just kind of keep that in mind. When they go, I'd like to thank my coaches and my
Hmm.
parents and friends. And you have all these resources, you have all these people that want the best for you. And that just means that you can't, put yourself first. You have to realize and acknowledge that help.
Yeah. Yeah. Set the ego aside and understand that we're all here. We all got your back, but you got to be kind to us to start with, right? So, kind of the golden rule: treat others how you'd want to be treated. I think is a very simple way to break down this episode. Be humble, baby. So, do you have anything else you want to add to this episode?
Um, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I think we nailed it. I think this was an awesome episode. I hope everyone who watched it gained something very important. And as always, if you loved it, make sure to like and subscribe. Send it to a friend, family member, somebody who's too humble. And
Wait,
what?
Never mind. We already shouted her out. I was gonna say we
Okay.
got to do the comments shout out, but we're good. Make
Yeah.
sure to comment below, and we will shout you out in our episodes.
Yes. So, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Peace.